Hello everyone, my name is Hannah and welcome to a new video. Today's video is going to be my April wrap-up. So all of the books that I read in April. April was such a doozy for me because I read some of the greatest books that I've ever read, like of all time. And so, I've mentioned this in vlogs before, like I have no idea how I'm gonna pick a favorite of the year this year because there have been so many books where I'm like, this is it, this is the favorite of the year. And then I read another one, I'm like, oh my God, is this the favorite of the year? Like, I've read so many amazing books. I've just been having the best reading time, and although I did have some DNFs this month, I had some absolutely stunning books this month. So let's just get into all of the books that I read because I can't wait to talk about some of these books. The first book that I read in April was Silent in the Grave by Deanna Raybourn. This is the first book in the Lady Julia Gray series. So this is a historical fiction mystery with a touch of romance. This is the same author who wrote the Veronica Speedwell mystery series, which I absolutely adore. And so I wanted to read more from Deanna Raybourn's backlist. I wanted to give this series a try and I did really enjoy it. I believe this is Deanna Raybourn's debut book. And I really liked it. I liked the mystery. It was a bit of a slow start, but it was like just kind of setting stuff up, which I expected from this first book. And I really like Julia as a main character. I think she had a lot of character growth in this book alone. It follows Julia Gray, whose husband passed away, and she gets approached by this man named Nicholas Brisbane, and he says he thinks that it's possible that there was some foul play and maybe her husband didn't die of natural causes like everybody else thinks. Maybe he was murdered. And she kind of brushes that off, and she goes through her mourning period, and when she's going like through her husband's like office and things, she finds a somewhat menacing note, and she's like, maybe it actually was foul play then. So she gets a hold of Nicholas Brisbane and they kind of try to solve the mystery of what happened to her husband, and so then they're kind of thrown together. The last half really got me, so I really enjoyed this. I gave it 4 stars and I'm excited to see where the rest of the series goes. Okay, then one of the most stunning books that I have ever read. I read this one back to back to back. I read it 3 times in 3 days, and that is Project Hail Mary by Andy Weir. Listen, Rachel from Raven Haired Reader read it and was like, this book is absolutely stunning. It's like a perfect book. Please read it. Wow. This took me by storm because I was hoping that I would like it, but I was not expecting to love it as much as I did. Basically, this follows Ryland, who is sent to space to kind of basically save the world. There's something going on with the sun, and if they don't fix this problem, the world will literally end. So he and a couple other scientists have been sent to space to figure this problem out. However, when he wakes up, the other scientists are dead. It's just him alone in space, and he has to try to figure out what's going on, solve this problem, and send the information of how to fix it back to Earth. And then while he's out there in space, he realizes maybe he's not actually alone out there. And can I just say, Rocky? I love Rocky. This book was so just incredible. It's very science heavy, and I was a little nervous for that because I'm like, am I going to be too dumb to understand this? But I didn't feel too dumb when I was reading it. I was like, no, everything makes sense. After I finished it, I was like, I'm not ready to let this story go. So I immediately started it again. And same with my reread. Like, I finished the reread and I was like, maybe just one more time. I went through on my reread and annotated in it. I love this book so much. So absolutely 5 out of 5 stars. Then I read The Bride Test by Helen Huang. This is the second book in this companion series. The first book is The Kiss Quotient, which I loved. I gave that one 5 stars, and so I was excited to get to this one. This is basically like a mail order bride. The guy in this book, I can't even remember his name, Kai? He is autistic, and his mom is like trying to get him set up with a wife, and so she finds this girl and says like, I think you would be perfect for my son Kai. Come to America with me, spend the summer with us, and like try to get him to fall in love or whatever. So she comes back to America and she's like living with Kai, and basically that's like where the story takes off, is them like being in this forced proximity, and Kai is like, I'm only doing this so I can prove to my mom that I don't want to be set up anymore and that's not going to work. And then the girl is only doing it because the mom had like offered her a bunch of money to at least like try for the summer, and she's got a little daughter that she wants to take care of. And so yeah, I didn't like how this one went. I didn't like how it was executed. I didn't really care for either of the characters. It just felt kind of flat to me, so I ended up giving this one 3 stars. This one just wasn't for me. Then I read The Emperor of the Evening Stars and Dark Harmony by Laura Thalassa. This is the 2.5, the novella, and then the final book, book 3 in the Bargainer series. And I read this for my friend Sahar's book club, the Fan Row Book Club. I was a co-host this series basically, and so I wanted to read these. I have read these before. This was rereads for me, but I wanted them to be fresh in my head for when we did the live show discussion. I ended up being the only one of us that actually really enjoyed these. I still really love the Bargainer series. I love Callie and Des. I loved this finale. I thought it wrapped up the series really well. I think the first time I read them, I gave both of them 5 stars, but on the reread, I think I'm giving both of them 4 stars. I still really, really like them. And I think they're really fun, like really good fantasy romance books. But this time around, I just like, I don't know, I was trying to be a little bit more realistic, and I wasn't going to give them 5 stars again just because I gave them 5 stars last time. But I did really enjoy these, and it was really fun to discuss everything, even though everyone else basically hated them. I loved them. Then I tried to read The Atlas Paradox by Olivia Blake, which is book 2 in the Atlas 6 series. And I read The Atlas 6 last year, and I did really like it. I think I gave that one 4 stars. This is like dark academia with magic, and it's these 6 people that are fighting for this spot in this like prestigious like secret society. And basically they're all like kind of unlikable. Like they're all really selfish, spoiled, entitled, pretentious people. And like, I was here for the story in the first book, but in the second book, it just felt like it was just the same thing. Like it was just dragging on, and honestly, I didn't care about any of the characters. I really only cared about one character, Libby, and her point of view was like, of the 260 pages that I read, I think I got 2 chapters from her point of view, and everyone else I was like, I just don't care. I don't care. I don't care what happens anymore. I don't care what's going to go, like how it's going to end. So I just decided to DNF it. I'm not going to continue on with the series because I cannot care about these characters. I just don't care. After that, I realized that I was in a romance reading mood, and I picked up Yours Truly by Abby Jimenez. This is her most recent release. It came out in April, I believe. And I read Part of Your World. This is the companion book to that. It's following the best friend from the main character in Part of Your World. It's following Bree, and it's also following Jacob. And they work together. They're both doctors, and they end up having this like really cute like friendship that starts off kind of like, they have like a bit of a rocky start. They get off on the wrong foot, but then Jacob has like some severe anxiety issues, and he decides to write her a letter because that's how he like feels like he can best explain himself. And so they have this cute little thing where they write letters back and forth, and they develop this friendship. And then they end up fake dating because his brother is engaged to Jacob's ex-girlfriend, and he's trying to like prove to his family that he's totally fine with it. He's okay with it. He's moved on. He doesn't care, but none of them will believe him. So he's like, no, everything's fine. Like I'm already in a relationship. I really don't care. And so he lies about being in a relationship, and then Bree ends up helping him out and fake dating him. And then of course it's a stunning friends to lovers fake dating situation. And I absolutely loved Bree and Jacob. I love them so much, but Jacob's anxiety rep in this is like unmatched. I've not read better anxiety rep. I think this is the best that I've ever read, and there were so many good quotes and so many relatable moments, and I love this book so much, and I annotated in it. Absolutely stunning. 5 stars. I adore this book. Then I picked up All Roads Lead Here by Mariana Zapata. So I've been meaning to read this one for a very long time, and I finally decided to get to it. This is a single dad age gap romance. So we're following Aurora, who is moving to this like small little town. She ends up moving into this like above garage loft apartment that the main love interest, Rhodes, owns. And he's very grumpy and surly, and they have like, it's kind of like a grumpy sunshine. Aurora's not like overly sunshiny, but definitely like more sunshiny than Rhodes is. He's very grumpy. Their relationship was really cute, and I liked the like single dad aspect of this. I really like this one. It's very slow burn. Like Mariana Zapata's books are all very slow burn. This is like almost 600 pages. Yeah, like 550 pages. And I don't think they like get together until like 400 pages into the book. So it's a stunning slow burn, and I really like this one. I really liked the setting. I believe it's set in Colorado, right? A small town in the mountains. I think it's in Colorado though. But yeah, I gave this one 4 stars, really liked it. Okay, after that, I read volumes 7, 8, and 9 of Spy Family by Tatsuya Endo. So I've been reading this series for the last probably year or so and kind of spreading them out and just having a good time with it. I think this was my first manga. Maybe Orange was my first manga, but this is the first manga that I actually liked. But I love the Forager family, and I love like all the shenanigans that they get into. I just really, really like all the characters. And so I had a really fun time reading these. I am sad though that now I have to wait for the next volumes because I've been able to just like spread them out and pick them up when I want to. And now I've read the final volume that's out in English. So I am sad about that, but I did really enjoy these. I gave volume 7 4 stars, and then 8 and 9 I gave 5 stars to because I absolutely love them. Volume 9 was my favorite of these 3 though, but volume 4 is still my favorite of the whole series. I just love that one. But yeah, I love this family, and I can't wait for the next volumes to come out. I also picked up Witch Hat Atelier volume 1 by Kamome Shirahama. I don't know if that's how you say that, but I got recommended this on a live, and I can't remember who recommended it to me, but I saw it at Half Price Books, and I was like, you know what, let me just pick that up. I think the rest of the series, I think the whole series is on KU, but I just was in the mood to buy books, and I saw this and I was like, it's cute. Like, I like this cover. It gives major Studio Ghibli vibes. So if you like Studio Ghibli and you haven't read this yet, definitely pick this up. It reminded me of Kiki's Delivery Service mixed with Howl's Moving Castle. So if you like those movies and you haven't read this, I would recommend that because it definitely gave me those vibes. It's just about this little girl who's learning to be a witch, and it was great. I'm definitely going to continue this series. I really liked it, and I really liked the art style. I ended up giving this one 4 stars. I really liked it. The next book I read was Open Water by Caleb Azuma Nelson. So this was another one that I saw at Half Price Books, and I just heard people talk about it, but I hadn't, like, it wasn't on any TBRs or anything that I was like, ooh, I need to get to that soon. But when I saw it at Half Price, I was like, you know what, let me get that. And I started reading it, and I was like, ah, yes, I see now what people are talking about. I'm gonna need to annotate in this. So I read this in one sitting. It's a very like painful love story. It basically says a beautiful and powerful novel about the true and sometimes painful depths of love. It says, narrated with deep intimacy, Open Water is at once an achingly beautiful love story and a potent insight into race and masculinity that asks what it means to be a person in a world that sees you only as a black body, to be vulnerable only when you are respected for strength, to find safety in love only to lose it. And I believe this is Caleb Azuma Nelson's debut, which is crazy to me because the writing in this is so stunning. There were so many good quotes in this, and like, oh, I just really enjoyed it. So I gave this one 5 stars. It was stunning. The next book I picked up was Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Fairies by Heather Fawcett. So this came out in January. I've seen a lot of people picking it up and really liking it. And I started reading it and I was like, oh, let me annotate in it because that's my thing now. I'm loving annotating, and I was loving this. And there were so many like, I don't know, good quotes and cute moments and stuff about fairies. And I was just like having the best time. So I decided to annotate in it, and I really enjoyed this one. It reminded me of The Bear and the Nightingale by Catherine Arden because the setting is very like wintry, and there's like fairies, and the way that they talk about fairies and folklore just reminded me of how they talk about like folklore in The Bear and the Nightingale. And then also the like fact that Emily Wilde is like a professor and she studies fairies. It reminded me of like a little bit of Veronica Speedwell and how she studies butterflies and how she's like very smart and intelligent and kind of matter of fact. They're not like the same. I wouldn't say if you like Veronica Speedwell, you should pick this one up. They're not the same, but it just reminded me of those things. Basically, Emily Wilde studies these fairies, and she goes on this like expedition, and then her annoying like colleague who she's a bit of a rival with. His name's Wendell Bamblebee, and they have like this little kind of love-hate thing going on, and it's pretty cute. But yeah, I had a really, really good time reading this. I thought it was going to be 5 stars there for a while. It ended up being 4 stars for me, but I really, really loved this, and I'm very excited to get to the sequel. After that, I was in the mood for something a little bit dark, a little bit mysterious, and so I decided to pick up Gothicana by Rhodes. I know Lachlan really, really loves this one, and so I was like, maybe I should check it out. I'm curious. So this is set at a school. It's kind of like a university. It's got like very like dark academia kind of vibes. It's like set at a Gothic castle, and the romance is with one of the young hot professors. But there is also a bit of a mystery surrounding this school. Like every 5 years, people go missing, and so the main character, Corvina, is trying to figure out like why people are going missing, and it's also like the 5th year. So this is her first year, and somebody's gonna go missing, and so she's trying to figure out what's going on and what happened in the past, and like just kind of solve this mystery while also having this very great romance with one of the professors. I did feel like the romance like was really quick. Like, it did feel a little bit insta-lovey, but at the same time, I really liked the pacing of it. So, like, it does feel insta-lovey, but not in a bad way. Like, it's insta-love done right, in my opinion. So, if insta-love bothers you, I would still check this out because I don't like insta-love, but this ended up working for me. But I really liked it. I gave this 4 stars. I had a really, really fun time reading it. I loved the mystery. I read it in one sitting, and I was like, I just couldn't put it down. It was so addicting. And the way this ended, it left room for like maybe a potential sequel. I don't think there's a sequel planned, but it says the end for now. So they're like, there could be, because there were enough strings left open that I'm like, maybe, who knows? I really enjoyed this one. I had a fun time with it. I gave it 4 stars. Then I had a DNF. I tried reading Better Than the Movies by Lynn Painter. When I bought it, I didn't realize that it was YA. I thought it was like a college romance, like a new adult romance. So I didn't realize it was YA. And once I realized it was YA, I was like, that's okay. Because I've read some YA romances that I still think are really, really cute. But I thought, you know, maybe I'll like it because I saw a lot of people's annotations from the book and like quotes from the book and like people's TikToks of this book, and I was like, maybe it'll be really cute. I'm gonna give it a try. And I just really didn't like it. I think I only got like 70 pages in. I didn't like the main character. I did like the love interest. I think his name is Wes. He was pretty cool. It's like a childhood, not friends, it's almost like enemies to lovers, and I think there's fake dating. She's trying to date him to make another guy jealous or notice her or something like that, which I do like that setup. But I wasn't vibing with it. I just decided I'm not gonna commit any more time to it, so I DNF'd that one. And then I also DNF'd The Dead Travel Fast by Deanna Raybourn. I still have my bookmark in here. Got 130 pages in. I'm not saying like I'm DNFing this forever, but I wasn't in the mood for it, and this one was an insta-love that I couldn't vibe with. Like, I don't know, the two, like the love interests talked maybe twice, and they're like, oh my god, I would die for you, and it's like, that I didn't like. But this is like a bit of a Dracula retelling, kind of, like loosely. It does sound interesting, and I maybe would continue it and at least try to finish it, but I just DNF'd it because I wasn't vibing. Then I finally did my reread of The Serpent and the Wings of Night by Carissa Broadbent, and I read 6 Scorched Roses by Carissa Broadbent, which is the novella set in this world. It's like a standalone novella, I think. You don't have to read the rest of the series for this to make sense, but like, you should. And I think Carissa recommends reading this one in between the 2 books that are out, this one and then The Ashes and the Star-Cursed King. So I have read this one. This was one of my best books of the year last year. 5 stars, absolutely stunning. I annotated it in it this time, and I just had the best time. I did also listen to the audiobook on my reread, which the audiobook's not great. It's not bad, but it's not great either. So I would recommend reading this physically, but I still loved it. I mean, 5 stars, absolutely stunning. I love Araya and Rain. And then 6 Scorched Roses was the little novella that it's set in the same world, but it follows different characters. And so it follows Lilith and Vale, and Lilith is like a scientist trying to solve this plague that has befallen her town. And she makes a deal with Vale, who is like a vampire lord. and she wants vials of his blood, and in exchange for that, she will give him 6 roses, and these roses are like special. And then they develop like a bit of a romance from there. And it was short, like it's how many? Less than 200 pages. But the story that was packed in here and the way the romance was done didn't feel rushed at all. It was so good, and I absolutely love Vale. And yeah, I had the best time reading this. Gave this one 5 stars as well. Okay, and now we're coming to the end, the last book that I read in April. And that was Manacled by Sen-Lin Yu. This is a Hermione fanfic, so Draco and Hermione from the Harry Potter series. I have never read a fanfic before, and I had never intended to. Like, it wasn't like a rule of mine to not read fanfic. I just didn't have any interest in it. I was just like, okay, whatever. Like, that's just the thing that exists, and I had no interest in it. And then Lachlan read it, and she posted her vlog. Watching her vlog and the way that she was talking about it, I couldn't get it out of my head. I was like, I need to read this book because she loves it so much. And I'm so curious, like my interest is piqued. So I decided just randomly that I was going to start it. And basically this is set as if the 6th and 7th book in the series didn't happen. And instead Voldemort ended up winning the war. And so it's very dark, very bleak, very depressing. Everyone we know and love is dead. The book starts out with Hermione being trapped in solitary confinement for over a year, and she's lost a lot of her memories, and the world is now being like run by Voldemort. And the setup is like Harry Potter meets The Handmaid's Tale, and Hermione is like a handmaid basically that is sent to Draco Malfoy. And that's like the setup basically. It's like she's sent to Draco. But then after we get like a chunk of the book in, the middle portion of the book, 38 chapters worth, is flashbacks. So it's Hermione getting all of her memories back, and we're flashing back to during the war, and we're getting a lot of the backstory between Hermione and Draco. And after you get all that information, then you go back to like the present time when Hermione is like a handmaid for Draco. It was amazing. It was amazing. I am a firm Draco and Hermione stan now, like Hermione for life. They are canon to me. You cannot convince me otherwise. They belong together. I love Draco with my whole heart and soul. I would die for him. I mean, this just tells you everything. Yeah, I cried so much while reading this book, like so much. And after finishing it, I just like wanted to stare into the void and have nobody talk to me or anything, because I was like, I feel like I say this a lot with certain books where I'm like, it changed my brain chemistry, or I'll never be the same after reading this. But I feel like that is not even adequate enough to describe this book. Like, I will literally never be the same. I will think about this book every day for the rest of my life. I just love it so much. It was so good. The writing was amazing. The story was amazing. It's very long, but very worth it if you can handle it. There's lots and lots of triggers. It's, like I said, very bleak. Like, it is dark. There is very little hope and very little happiness in this book, but it's so good. I gave it 5 stars, but if I could give it a million stars, I would. Infinity stars. It is amazing. One of the best books I ever read. Manacled was absolutely stunning. If you're gonna read it, check the trigger warnings and prepare for a dark, depressing time, but it's everything. It is everything. So yeah, those are all of the books that I read in April. See what I mean when I say I've read so many amazing books. Just an absolutely amazing reading month, despite having a few DNFs. Mostly, I gave books 4 or 5 stars, which is just like actually incredible. I think besides the DNFs, I only gave one book 3 stars. Everything else was a 4 or 5. So I'm like thoroughly enjoying all of the books that I'm reading, and I'm just having the best time ever. So if you made it to the end of this video, leave the, what should we do? Let's leave the wilting rose emoji down in the comments down below if you made it to the end of this video, and let me know in the comments what your best book of April was. I would be really curious. Let me know in the comments down below what your favorite book of April was, and if you've read Project Hail Mary or Manacled or yours truly, and what your thoughts were on them. I'd really love to hear it in the comments down below. Don't forget to click like and subscribe while you're down there to help support me and my channel. I've got my Goodreads and my Instagram link down below if you want to follow me on there and get other updates about my reading and stuff like that. And thank you again so much for watching this video. I really appreciate it, and I will see you all in my next one. Bye.